Hey everybody, it is January 20th. It is about minus 13 in Alberta right now, but quite frankly, I don't give a shit because I'm in Cuba. So you might notice the background change a few times during this video. That's because I'm trying to sneak in some bike video stuff on my family vacation. But day 3 was a great day. It started off a little tentatively because of that leak in my bike. We knew the first order of business after we had some coffee there at the campsite was to go into the nearest shop we could find in Nelson and see if I could get an oil and filter change. Probably could have done it ourselves at Toad Rock, but right now I just wanted to make sure that that was the problem and perhaps a professional mechanic would be able to identify if anything else was the matter, that the filter wasn't the issue.
Alright, so I'm out here at Montauk State Park on the eastern tip of Long Island in New York State. And I've been on Long Island for about a week for work, and I'm heading back to Saskatoon next week. It's a nice little break from winter. Although you can see on Long Island there's a fair bit of snow right now. It's actually pretty cold by Long Island standards. And behind me you can see the lighthouse, which was apparently opened by George Washington. So that's kind of a neat little fact. But not here to talk about Long Island today. I'm going to talk about Big Trip 2013 instead. Whitey really wanted to get his bike looked at to make sure there wasn't a serious issue with the oil leaking out. And so he was eager to get into Nelson to the bike shop to get it looked at, but we managed to convince him to go have some breakfast first at this little pastry place right by the Balfour Ferry.
So keep moving, don't stop. Keep moving, don't stop. We're all in this together.
I mean, let's start with you. Tell me where we are, what we're doing. Maybe not the best choice for the first one.
We're eating breakfast.
Oh, there you go.
We're at the Balfour Ferry Terminal. Excuse me. And we are on our way to Nelson to source a new oil filter for Whitey's bike. He's having a little issue where he's dripping, just has a tiny little leak. And he's and it seems to be localized to the oil filter. So we've topped him up with oil, and we can get to Nelson now. There's a bike shop there, so we should be able to get a filter. Probably drop the oil out, change filter, and touch wood, and that fixes our problem.
Chris, tell me about your breakfast. How's the food here? Tell me where we're eating.
Actually, there's just a little pastry place that Whitey recommended. What's it called? Old World Bakery. And spinach and feta croissant. Spectacular, actually. First rate. I highly recommend this place to anyone who's interested, and even those who are not.
Whitey, tell me a little bit about how you're feeling today. You were a little discouraged last night. How are you feeling today? What's your outlook?
Feeling good, hoping we can get the bike tidied up and get on with riding.
So after a tasty pastry and a cup of coffee, we headed on into Nelson to get Whitey's bike looked at. Now the dealer in Nelson that we went to was Mainjet Motorsports, and they're right on the main drag, just on the west side of the lake. And we got off the bikes there and talked to them, and they managed to get Whitey's bike in right away, which was good for us. We wanted to get it looked at as soon as possible.
So we'd agreed that we were going to go down to Nelson, which was about 30 kilometers south, and we knew of a motorcycle shop there, and we would take it in and have it looked at. So that's exactly what we did. We headed from Balfour down to the motorcycle shop, and Jeff went in and spoke to the mechanics there, and very quickly his bike was rolled in to have a closer look.
Alright, we're just hanging out at Mainjet Motorsports in Nelson, trying to get my bike issue solved. Hopefully it's just the oil filter. That's what we're crossing our fingers for, so we're getting a new filter and an oil change done here right now, and we'll find out in about another 100K or so next time we pull over to check if that was in fact the problem.
And how long are we looking at waiting around here for now?
No idea. It took Buddy about 15 minutes just to enter my name into the computer. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope that it's going to be a speedy turnaround. It was no problem. They got me in right away. Unfortunately, the type of oil filter my bike takes was something that they had readily available as well. It took about an hour and a half, got the oil and filter change, and they washed my bike as well.
So Jeff, that's a nice clean bike you got there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
Isn't it? Better to see how awesome it is.
The mechanic had indicated that he thought it was just a poorly seated oil filter, and that basically with the right filter and an oil change and everything, as far as the mechanic could tell, there was no problems, and it was definitely seating very well and was sealed well, and that he didn't anticipate any further problems. So this gave us all great optimism, and particularly Jeff was very pleased.
We're just getting it out of the shop here, the bike. They had the oil filter and they changed the oil, and hopefully now that leak that we were discussing earlier is gone. They also washed it, and that's my jacket liner there and my tank bag that they also washed.
and let's go. Let's start riding.
So our new plan was heading out of Nelson, we would go for about 50 clicks or so to ride the bike and then check it again to see if it was leaking oil. Rode for about 50 or 75 clicks and then pulled over to check, and it was the moment of truth. Fortunately, no sign of any oil leak. I was back to being a happy camper.
We rode over to Salmo, which is just basically southeast of Nelson, and we stopped in for some lunch at the Salmo Hotel. Had a nice little lunch there, and we had checked the bike, Jeff's bike, and it looked like the oil leak problem was certainly not appearing at this point. And so we felt pretty comfortable that the mechanic and the work that we had done at the bike shop had made the difference. So we were happy to be sitting down to have lunch and looking forward to the rest of our day.
We're in Salmo, British Columbia, and I've ordered a cheddar bacon burger. Yeah, it's good.
And as it turned out, the food there was actually excellent, and it turned out to be a great place to stop and just relax for a few minutes before continuing on our way.
So after lunch, we headed further east and took what's known as the Salmo Creston Pass, which is a nice high mountain pass, and headed, as you can imagine, to Creston. And Salmo Creston Pass is really nice because it's a great climb. It's really nice how the temperature and the climate sort of changes as you climb up. I'm not sure how many thousand feet you're up, but quite a few. And you come up to this summit, and we just flew right through the summit and down the backside.
There's really not a wrong turn you can take in this part of the world if you're riding a bike. All the roads are amazing, but one of the really good ones that Hammy and I had done back in 2008, I think, our first big trip, was the 3A, which is a really nice twisty road that runs right along the edge of Lake Kootenay, or Kootenay Lake, whatever.
When we got to Creston, you know, it was a pretty hot day. It was getting later in the afternoon, and it was a very hot day. It was probably 30 degrees or 32 degrees or so, and we just decided to get off the bikes and take a little break and try and find something to drink and take a load off for a few minutes before we ran up the 3A.
It was so nice to get out of the sun and find a shady spot that we probably killed about another 45 minutes to an hour just kind of hanging out there and cooling down. But there was enough of that, and we decided to finally saddle back up and hit that 3A. Hammy and I rode that back in 2008 on our first big trip. Had an absolute blast. I was really looking forward to riding it again. We certainly couldn't complain about the weather, and we couldn't complain about the scenery either.
I've been looking forward to riding the 3A for quite a while. I have driven it once in a car, and I knew from that experience that it was going to be a blast to ride on a motorcycle.
3A is the #1 rated motorcycle road in the entire province as graded by Destination Highways. So I've ridden the road a number of times before, going both south to north and north to south, and it is spectacular.
Really enjoyed the ride up to the Crawford Bay Ferry, and then got to the ferry terminal and stopped to wait for the ferry for a little bit. The Crawford Bay Ferry is actually, I think, the longest free ferry in North America. So any longer ferry ride than that, then you have to pay for it. This one is free. BC Ferries pays for the ferry to operate, and it actually is a fairly long ride. It probably takes about a half hour to get across the lake from Crawford to Balfour. So, you know, we just got off the bikes and enjoyed the breeze on the ferry and enjoyed the scenery as we crossed the lake.
Out the corner of my eye, I saw a pretty little thing.
Tell me what we just rode, and tell me what it's called, and tell me about it.
Well, what's it? Highway 3A from Creston up here to Kootenay Bay, is it?
Crawford Bay.
Crawford Bay. And yeah, there's enough twisties, more curves than Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition. It's pretty spectacular to ride on a bike, and managed to get some good footage, I think, for the big trip video. I kind of worked my way through the pack up to the front and back to the back again, and so got some shots of everybody going around the curves, and I think everybody had a really good time. It's a beautiful day. Man, couldn't ask for any better.
So after we rode the 3A, we get that ferry back across to the ferry landing where we had breakfast earlier that morning. And it was back to Toad Rock where we dropped off our day gear, picked up some specialized gear because we were heading to the hot springs.
He said there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay, I got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. I know I can't slow down, I can't hold back, though you know I wish I could. Oh no, there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good.
So we got back to the campground, and the day was sort of done as far as riding went, but the guys all seemed to be gung-ho to go to this Ainsworth Hot Springs, which is just north of Toad Rock, a little ways up the highway. And I wasn't really too keen on it. You know, it was a hot day, it was probably in the 30s, and I was sweating and hot, and I just didn't feel like getting hotter by going in the hot springs. It just didn't seem like it would be that appealing. So I was tempted to bug out and just say, no, go on without me. But I decided to go with them anyway. Now, I hadn't been to Ainsworth before, but one of the interesting things about the Ainsworth Hot Springs is that when you're in the pool, there's actually these caves that go right directly from the pool into the side of the mountain. And they're full of hot springs water. It's where the hot springs water is coming from, sort of thing. So, and the proprietors actually smooth out the floor on these caves a little bit because it would cut your feet up. It could be pretty rough otherwise. But you can actually walk from the pool and go straight into the mountain. And basically you're in waist deep water and walking into the mountain in the hot springs water. So of course once you're in there, it's sort of like being in a sauna. There's a lot of steam in there from the hot springs water heating everything up, and it's very relaxing actually. Now when we came out, I realized that while I hadn't initially wanted to go into the hot springs and kind of thought it was not going to be that pleasant on a hot day, I actually felt incredibly refreshed. It was actually a really, really good thing to do after a hot and hard day of motorcycling. So I was really glad that the guys had talked me into going and that I'd agreed to go along with them.
It's a natural hot springs that have had some man-made pools built and stuff around it to contain it, and checked ourselves in there for about an hour and a half of soaking and relaxation and just feeling all the day just wash away. And particularly I think the stress and worry of Jeff's bike really was just like in the rearview mirror now, and we could really look forward to a fantastic few more days riding together and knowing that Jeff was going to be with us and the bike was all good. So I remember really having a good time with the boys and enjoying the Ainsworth Hot Springs a lot.
All right, we're at the Ainsworth Hot Springs, so we just had an après biking dip in the mineral water, and it was extremely refreshing. You wouldn't naturally think that a hot soak in a tub after a hot day of biking was as hot as 34 above today would be very refreshing, but it was, and I would recommend it to anyone. So tomorrow we're probably going to plan around ending up somewhere near a hot spring again.
And what are we off to now?
We are back on our way to Toad Rock, which is about 5 clicks south of where we're standing right now, for a beer and supper.
Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay, I got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. I know I can't slow down, I can't hold back, though you know I wish I could. I know there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good. Not even 15 minutes later, I'm still walking down the street.
So one of the interesting things that happened to us at Toad Rock was this guy, Andrew, from Germany. We just called him Herr Andrew. I don't know if you can see that guy over my shoulder there, but his name is Andy, or we call him Herr Andrew. He's this German guy, has quite a story to tell. He is on a 2-year trip around North America, and he crashed his bike on Friday, about 4 days ago, just outside of Caslow here, and he's been nursing himself back to health here at Toad Rock. Can't imagine a better place to do that at. So we're just having a couple of drinks with him and sitting around the campfire bullshitting, having a good time. So we actually ended up making friends with Andrew. He brought a couple beers over to the campsite and hung out with us for a little bit. That was kind of cool.
To summarize day 3 for me, it was really like 2 days in one. The first part of the day was all about Jeff's bike, the concerns that we all shared over whether or not it was going to be okay, how serious this oil link problem was. So that part of the day was sort of serious, and there was a lot of anxiety and worry, obviously particularly on Jeff, but really on all of us. Then the second part of the day was once things were cleared and we had word that the bike was good and that it was holding well, and then really things just turned around. Then we started to feel so much better, there was a lot of relief, and we could really enjoy the rest of the trip and the rest of the riding that day. You know, riding 3A together, going up to the hot springs and soaking in the hot springs for an hour and a half was just brilliant, and then a relaxing evening around the fire telling stories. It really capped off a day that was really 2 days in one.
So after we were done at the hot springs, it was just back to the campground for some rum and some boil in a bag and some good company. And we just enjoyed the rest of the evening visiting together and got ready for day 4.
We wish we could. I know there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good.